the approval of the meeting minutes first?
No,
Okay.
no.
All
And
right.
you'll have to guide me, of course, because I'll forget the phrases.
I'll be
I'll forget the
looking
phrases. So.
I'll be looking at you.
I know she helped.
She won't let it go off the rails.
Yeah, I know.
And we all need guidance up here.
That's all I can do. You.
I guess we get to watch TV.
Yeah, we're going to watch zombies today.
Yeah, that's when it really gets hot. I wish it went on last night. I couldn't read this over here. I could read that this. I can't even see it that far away.
I say, if they don't put it here, we can't see that.
I can't read that far away.
Exactly. Send the big guy up there.
I don't even think we need that.
No.
I mean, I'd tell them not to worry about taking that down.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
But we have the.
You are a lefty, but they don't see their numbers, so.
That's okay. That's all right.
Me too.
You're a lefty as well?
Yeah, we got two
I didn't
lefties.
realize that. I would have been putting you down this end all along.
It's easy to switch.
That's all right. Oh, well, that was problematic.
I'm hot. I'm hot. There's always one in the crowd. I'll just be the guy.
You ready?
They're still working on it. As soon as we get the meeting stuff up there, they'll
Okay.
get signed.
Good.
See that palm tree? I thought they were sending us all on a nice vacation.
Yeah.
I guess that's not it.
That's to make you feel cooler. Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Guess they're not changing. Guess they're not changing the other speeds.
I guess not. Something about zombies up there. Okay.
All right, we're going to start the meeting for the St. Mary's County Metropolitan Commission, the regular meeting for Thursday, September 25th, 2025. We're going to first start off with everyone doing jumping jacks so we can warm the place up a little more. What do you think?
Second.
The first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Can I have
Make a motion, we approve.
make a motion?
Make a motion, we approve.
Have a second? please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. The second item, we're going to kind of jump out of the sequence here a little bit. We're going to have the American Water Works Association Water Taste Test Challenge Award.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. The Chesapeake Tri-Association Conference held its annual American Water Works Association Water Taste Test Challenge on August 28, 2025. The St. Mary's County Metropolitan Commission received top regional honors and became eligible to compete nationally at the AWWA's 2026 event held in Washington, D.C. We won first prize for the groundwater taste test. So that sample was taken from the Fox Meadow Public Water System. This system draws water from the Piney Point Aquifer. I think we're very proud of the water that we serve here. We're also very proud of the guys who deliver it to our customers. And we wanted to take this opportunity to present the award to the Commission and the Commission Chair. So, Mr. Dugan, you can come up here and receive the award.
I don't know why I'm getting it. You'll get it. Thank you. Great job. Great job. Sure. Appreciate it. Thank you. Any questions? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all.
I'll just let him finish. All right. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes from dated August 28th, 2025. Can I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
Motion to approve the meeting minutes of August 28th, 2025.
I'll second it.
All right. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
There you go.
Next item is the consent agenda. Everyone's had a chance to look over the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda from August 2025?
I will make that motion to approve the consent agenda for August 2025.
Second it.
Second? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. All right, we're now going into new business. First topic is risk management and safety claims update by Judy.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hello.
I just wanted to briefly go over our safety statistics for the year. I am Judy Gilman. I am the safety officer risk manager here for Metcom. And I'll give you a tiny bit of a background in case you're not aware of how our insurance works. Our primary liability auto property insurance is through local government insurance trust, also known as Legit. The Legit is made up a pool of 194 members. So everything we do affects their pool, and everything they do affects our rates. We have done, as you can see from the charts that I sent out, we've done very well this year. We've done good. Our rates will still be adjusted according to the pool. So, you know, we just got to keep going and with what we're doing because we're helping them by where we are. Training update. As of right now, we have over 600 safety courses that we have given throughout the last 12 months here. Those include those are computer-based training. We have external vendors, plus we have 9 in-house instructors that we have trained, sent to training, and they teach our people. So we have a very robust training program, which, you know, we're pretty proud of here. Workers' comp update. For USAMA injuries, we had 4 out of 5 injuries were sprains and strains to the back and shoulder. 2 of those injuries involved falls, and 2 of those were from material handling situations. The good news is our employees are not getting injured because of tools, lack of training, etc. This was just mishaps, they stepped wrong, and so on. So all we can do in those situations is bring more awareness to the employees and constantly remind them, look where you are, watch your environment, and so on. But these are very minor injuries that we've had. So very proud of the employees and what they've done here. Okay, now, that's the good news is due to Metcom's low injury rate through 2024, last month we received a dividend check for $45,000, which was returned back from our workers' comp insurance carrier, Chesapeake Employers Insurance. Along with this check, we received a safety award also, and a statement that came with it was that Metcom is one of 18 safety award recipients out of 18,619 active policies. So it's quite impressive.
Very much.
Only top 0.1% of the customers received the safety award. The criteria for the award is a 5-year average premium of $100,000 or greater, 5-year combined loss ratio of 25%. Metcom had 14.68%. It's very good. And you had to also be cooperative and had a positive relationship with them. So this is what the award came from. Hopefully we can do this again next year and get another dividend check back. So again, quite an achievement, and you know, we're going to keep going with it. Any questions?
Well, first I want to say congrats to everybody. I mean, unbelievable the fact that we're able to get that back, and obviously everyone from the field and everyone from the office, thank you very much. Couple questions I have. So you talked about the training. Do we think we have a pretty good system in terms of being able to validate who all has gotten the training?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
No doubt.
I mean, it's obviously it's great doing the training or whatever, but it's also great to make sure that we're working through everybody, making sure they're, one, obviously it's available, but 2, that we're accurately reflecting that, you know.
Yes, everything's documented, and it's, we have everything.
And then how do vehicle accidents come into play?
Well, that would go with the legit insurance, of course. As far as coming to play with,
Well, I'm thinking, let's say someone's driving it and they get hurt, does that fall under the workman's comp at all?
it would depend.
Okay.
It would be part of it could be workers' comp. If they get injured, the third party, then it's under
Right.
legit.
Right,
So that's how but they can be broken out, yes.
okay. Yeah. Again, that 5-year average is very impressive, so
Yeah.
kudos to everybody, so.
Okay.
Anyone else got any?
Well, I'm looking at this. I've had more injuries than all 100 people here at Metcom. Well done. Everybody must be doing a really good job of being conscious of their environment. I mean, everybody gets little sprains, but no major stuff. Well done, everybody. Kudos.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Oh, we do have the safety award plaque that
We'll present this to the board. So the Chesapeake Employers Insurance Company, not only are we in the top 0.1%, very well stated, Commissioner Chair Dugan, but they give you this handsome plaque that we can hang up over in the operations building. Again, these are based on 5-year averages. It's not just a good year that we had. So kudos to Judy. And as you pointed out, kudos to the guys for following and adhering to the training that they've gotten. So this is for you, Commissioner Chair, and the rest of the board.
All right.
Thank you for supporting us.
All right, no problem.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you
Nice
so much.
safety.
Miss Judy.
Thank you, Judy. All right, the second new business is the rate study progress report.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Sean Bethea, Chief Financial Officer. Glad to be here again. As part of the fiscal year 2025 budget, the funding for an updated water and sewer rate study was approved. A copy of the scope of work was forwarded to you last week by Ms. Laura Sanders. We typically perform these types of studies approximately every 5 years. As we discussed with the board, the results of the study should be available for consideration during recommendations for proposed rates and changes associated with the fiscal year 2027 budget. We have representatives here today from New Gen Strategy, Mr. Michael Makers, which is right next to me, and also Mr. Connor Drusis. They're here from the teams located in Annapolis, Maryland. They were the most responsive and responsible bidder when the recommendation for award was approved by the board back in February of this year. Just a matter of history, the three-tiered rate structure was implemented after a January 2015 water and sewer rate study, which recommended the rate increase of 3% for water and a rate increase for 3.75% for sewer. In preparation for the fiscal year 2020 budget cycle, the rate model was updated and recommendations were provided by the consultant at that selected time, which was Stantec. In that final report, it was suggested that the rate of increase could possibly be reduced gradually over time from 3% for water to as low as 1.45% and from 3.75% for sewer to as low as 2%. The fiscal year 2026 budget was approved with a rate increase of 2.1% for water and 2.7% for sewer. Just a reminder that this is the first iteration of the results of the ongoing study and that we will be returning to the board with formal recommendations or at a future time with the board at a future board meeting. There is no official action required by the board today, but certainly some general concurrence in the progress to date will be welcomed. And at this time, I'd like to turn the presentation on to New Gen Strategies.
Thank you, Sean. Good afternoon. As I mentioned, I'm Mike Maker. I'm a partner with New Gen. We're in Annapolis. We work closely with management and staff on iterations and several teams meetings, and this is kind of the result of our preliminary findings. So hopefully we can see the screen up here and follow through. It's a fairly short presentation. If you have questions on the way, feel free to stop me unless you want to wait to the end. As Sean mentioned, I think you were provided the scope of the study. This is just the highlights of that scope. So fairly typical things. You want to review the rate structure, see if costs are fairly administered and allocated. Review the tiers, the 3-tier system you have right now. We want to look at the impact to different customers. You want to compare your current with proposed rates. Review growth assumptions, inflation, other assumptions that go into the model. Some of the particular service fee categories you want to look at was that as adding an intermediate tier. And so I'll show you some more detail on that. Looking at a grinder pump surcharge for those customers who have caused you to incur those grinder pump costs. Capacity reservation charge for those EDUs that have been purchased but not connected yet. The capital improvement surcharge. And then do some benchmarking. Put together a rate model that will be the property of Metcom. So we'll train your staff on how to use that model. And then hopefully you can use that in the future for checking your finances to make sure they're in line. And then today we're showing you 5 years of rate projections, but the model actually goes 10 years so that at year 5 things don't go off a cliff. You can see that you're maintaining the financial stability. And then reviewing some miscellaneous fees.
What's been your track record from that in the sense of if you went, I don't know, how long have you been doing this?
I've been over 22 years, so yeah. But things change, right? Like nobody predicted COVID, things like that happen. So it's good you'll have the model, you can put the numbers in. What we recommend is take your budget numbers, replace those with actual, see how did things stand, and then you can make adjustments on the fly. So We would typically recommend that you adopt a 5-year rate structure, and then if things change, you can revisit it, but you're not set in stone on that.
No, I understand that. I was just curious what
Yeah.
you had a feeling that what's your from the.
If I could
5 to
predict what's
10
gonna happen in 10 years, I'd be on Wall Street.
No,
not
no,
doing
that's
this.
whether
But
your
yeah.
numbers have been, reasonable, I
Yeah.
guess.
So these are technically the assumptions of the model. So what kind of factors affect charges and rates? So as you know, your operating maintenance expenses is a really large one. That's your salaries, your benefits, materials, supplies, your day-to-day expenses. So if you're not sure, you have about 420 expense line items in your budget. So we have all that in the model. We take your numbers, how you account for them. So we're not fitting it into any specific accounting. We then apply an inflation factor to those. And so after discussion with staff, I believe there's a 2.5 merit increase that was coming, and then a 2 to 4 cost of living adjustments. We average that at 3%. So adding those together gets you about 5.5% annually added for labor. Now for 2026, I understand you also did a market adjustment. So first we applied that 7% market adjustment to labor, and we started with the 2025 actuals. So we're not actually starting with the 26 budget. We started with 25 actuals, applied that 7% adjustment, and then applied the 5.5% each year over the next 5 years for anything that's salary and wages. Other expenses, we're just being conservative and using the 3% CPI. So over the past roughly 10 years, CPI has averaged about 3%. It's been higher, the past years, we hit 8% like 2022, but it's come back down to those normal levels. We've seen inflation. So that equates to about a 4.2% escalation for each of the next 5 years for operating expenses. Customer growth, historically, you've seen about 1% increase in customer accounts. Now we split this out separately from usage growth. So you may be adding new customers here, some pocket of development there. We're finding customers on average are actually using less water per capita. So you may be adding some customers, but those customers aren't using much more water. So we're trying to be conservative there and saying that's going to stay fairly flat, even though we will see some additional customer accounts. Miscellaneous revenues, that's anything other than rates and charges. So things like interest penalties, you've got some separate septic hauler charges, tower rentals, things like that. Again,
Only because I won't remember to ask the question later, so sorry to interrupt, but on the usage, for the base usage, what did you do since we're not seeing the volume there, and of course, they're also doing some of their own work on the water side or whatever, whether you looked at that separately or not?
You have like meter charges that like fixed charge. So those are done by the customer count. And then you have the usage rates, like a variable rate. Those are based on the water demand. So essentially the meter charges don't have to increase quite as much because you have that 1% in growth. But the variable rates, they're not getting any help with usage growth. So they would have to do a little bit of higher rate increase.
And the base pays an unmetered fee, their water is not served by us.
Yeah, I was more just from the.
I mean, the Navy base, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the Navy base,
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, you have a sewer rate, I believe, the Navy base.
That's
But
right.
not, yeah.
I was just wondering whether you looked at that projection differently,
Yeah.
only because it's kind of its its own animal, whether it's worth it for us
Right.
because of the way we're set up.
And then we have a recommended reserve, an operating reserve, so these are usually done number of days of expenses, so kind of your minimum target is the 90 days, and your goal would be about 180 days, so 90 days equal to about 25% of operating expenses kept in an operating reserve. 180 days would be 50% kept in a reserve. So I'll show you how you stand on those. And then the goal, at least the eventual goal, is to maintain the assumption that reserves do not stabilize or subsidize rates. So ideally that revenues exceed expenses on an annual basis. And we'll get into some of those details. So this slide, I believe you've seen before. The next 3 slides, including this one, are ones that I believe George has presented before. This just shows a history of revenues and expenses. So green being revenues, red being expenses. And since those green bars are higher than the red, that means you brought in a surplus each year. So therefore, you're not subsidizing the rates with cash. And at least with that projections, it looks like you should be in a good position there. This slide, I know you can't read those numbers. They're really small. Those are historical rate increases and some of what Sean talked about, what the plan was in the past. Blue being water and then green being sewer. So here's about 3% for water at the beginning of this plan. This is in 2016, and then 3.7 for sewer. But you can see just kind of the general relative slope is we're trying to get those down to more manageable increases for the future. And then this should be another familiar one. This is performance measures. So this is kind of how you came up with your target of number of days cash on hand. So it's just looking at what are you holding in reserves right now? What do you have for operating expenses based on the 24 audit? And where does that put you? So this is showing you have about 374 days of reserves. So you're well ahead your 180-day goal. So that's good. But now we're going to get into water and sewer separately, just looking at the revenue sufficiency. So again, this might be hard to see, so I'll just explain, and maybe I can use this laser pointer. So this left chart is operating expenses, is what these blue columns are. So this is 2026. This is your current year. It started July 1st, and this is the next 5 fiscal years. And you can see 2026, it looks like about 6 million or so, 6.5, versus for water. The light blue line going across here is how much revenue you're bringing in now. So you can see as long as this line is above these columns, you have a surplus. If it's below, you have a shortfall. So right here, you can see this little gap. That means your revenues are higher than expenses in 2026. Same here, it's a little smaller. And then you would end up having slight shortfalls. So this is if you maintain the 2.1% increases that Sean mentioned, which was the prior 5-year plan. That's this darker blue line. This is just the 2.1s. And then so what we look at is, okay, if there are going to be shortfalls, how does that affect our cash balance? Those 90 and 180-day targets. This is your cash starting in 2026 or ending in 2026. This red line is the target for 90 days. So as long as this blue column is higher than that, you're covering your requirement. This dashed red line is 180 days. So here you can see, you'll build up cash till about 2029, and then you'll actually start running these shortfalls that you see here. And you'll start slightly eating into cash. You'll still be above the 180, above the 90. But if we were to extend this out, you'll start to see it drop down to eventually not there. So we would recommend, and then the little note here. So if you maintain the 2.1%, eventually it would no longer be sustainable by 2030 or so. And so then we ran another scenario, said instead of doing 2.1, so what if we did 3%? So a slight higher increase. Again, looking at the same expenses, same current revenue, and then you'll see this slightly elevated if we go to 3% each year for the next 5 years. So instead of seeing that dip now in 2030 and 31, stabilizes a little more in that case. So moving on to sewer. And then a note here. We would not suggest, starting at 2.1 and then gradually getting to 3, because we're assuming you're doing 3 each and every year for 5 years. If you start at 2.1, then essentially they'd have to be more than 3 out here. So it'd be 2.1 to maybe 5. If you just do an equal 3, then it's more stabilized. Sewer, usually sewage treatment, sewage operations, things like that, a little more expensive. So these are going to be bigger dollar amounts. Here again are the expense columns. Here you can see we're not as in the greatest situation. This is current revenue, the light blue line. You can see we're actually running a shortfall in each and every year. If you maintain the plan that Sean mentioned earlier, that would be 2.7% here, this black line. And you can see you'd still be running a shortfall each year. So what does that do to the cash balance? You do have a little more money in the sewer fund just because there's more revenues there you're receiving. But you can see that quickly diminishes, so you would no longer be covering the 180 or the 90 days. You would no longer be covering 180 in 2028 or 2029, and then by 2030, you're not even reaching the 90 days. So what does that look like? And then the comment here, maintaining the current 2.7 is not sustainable without subsidizing rates with cash. So if you wanted to maintain the 180 days or even the 90, you'd have to do something near about 6% per year, each and every year. So I know that's a larger hit than what the previous plan was. But that would put you in this trajectory here, and you just don't see quite that fall off in cash. It would come down here and stabilize around 180. So gradual and again, we don't recommend starting at 2.7 and then going to 6, because that 6 would end up being, you know, something like 10 or 12 by the 5th year. So you would have to do it each and every year, but again, you're going to want to revisit this. You know, a lot of times actual expenses aren't quite as high as you initially proposed, so you may end up like that previous chart we showed where revenues are much higher than expenses, and you may be able to hold off some of these end year increases in years 3, 4, 5 or something like that. So now moving on to the alternate tiered structure we looked at for water. This is that intermediate tier we talked about. So right now you have 3 tiers. Tier 1 is from 0 to 5,000 gallons. Tier 2 is 5,000 to 20,000, and tier 3 is over 20,000. And so the proposal is to split that 5 to 20, because that's a really large tier gap there, 5 to 20. And it seemed like a good spot to split it with right at the 10,000. Because that 10,000 actually falls, you have a sewer cap for residential customers. So in the summer, you're not charged for any more than 10,000 gallons of usage for your sewage. And we usually do that because a lot of that is irrigation, outdoor usage, so that's not returning to the sewer system anyways. You also have a policy, this OPW 2101, where you talk about any flows, you know, less than or equal to 10,000 gallons per month is kind of the warning threshold. So it also fits nicely with that. And then it helps with conservation. So, and I'll kind of show you in the next slide where we have these cutoffs. And then it more directly helps with the excessive use cutoffs for indoor and outdoor. Just some benchmarks that also support this 10,000. The national average between the U.S. Geological Service, I believe it is about 80 to 100 gallons per person per day. That's excluding outdoor usage. In Maryland, they use an average household size of about 2.5, 2.6 people per household. So MDE, Maryland Department of Environment, we take that 100 gallons per day, that's about 78 gallons per month. And then EPA also estimates about outdoor usage is roughly 30%. So we take the 100 from MDE, add that 30% factor, we get 130. Multiply that by the household size of 2.6, and then 30 days per month, that gets us about 10,000 gallons. So roughly, again, in line with that incremental tier. So kind of a conclusion there, we think the 10,000 gallon intermediate tier is a good alignment and is a good spot to add another tier. Then excessive use is not defined by the state, but you do have that OPW 2100 that identifies the threshold. So here's actual numbers for that. So this top table is your current design. And again, this is for a 5/8 inch customer, because larger meter sizes get multiples or increments of these tiers. But again, there's that 0 to 5, 5 to 20, over 20. This is how much usage, so customer usage falls into each of these right now. So roughly 75% of all usage stays under this 5,000, stays in that tier 1. So if you can keep your bill within that tier 1, you get a break because you don't see those higher multipliers. And then the percentage of bills, so it's 72% of bills are customers, and then 75% of their usage. Tier 2, now you hit about 22%. So you're getting almost 100% of usage in the first 2 tiers. Only 3% goes into the 3rd tier. And it's only 1% of bills. So it's just your really large customers, really excessive usage, excessive irrigation that's falling into that top tier. Because I mean, 20,000 gallons a month is a lot of water, especially for a 5/8 inch customer. So our recommendation is to add in this 2nd tier, so between the tier 1 and tier 2. And so now it'd be 5 to 10 and then 10 to 20. So essentially what you're doing is you're taking some of this 22% usage, putting that into the 5 to 10, and then the remainder from 10 to 20 falls into here. So now we have these 4 tiers, and then the multiples, if you notice up here, this 1, 2, and 4, what this means is somebody who falls in tier 2, their usage that falls into that tier is charged 2 times what tier 1 pays, and tier 3 is charged 4 times what tier 1 pays. What we've done down here, instead of doing 2, we're now going by 1.5. So 1.5, 3, and then 4.5. So it gives a slight break to those in tier 2. Causes those in tier 3, again, the roughly 6% of usage, they're going to get a slightly more higher rate than they would have. And then tier 4, these are your really excessive usage, only 3% of usage, 1% of bills. We're discouraging that excessive use and showing them there's a value to water, and that costs money to use those tiers. And then the other slight change was you have these non-metered water and sewer charges. So those are customers that are unmetered. You can either be an unmetered water or sewer. So if you have a well or septic. I think the goal there was for those to be based on 7,500 gallons per month, and they've kind of become off kilter over time. So we just setting those back so they're tied exactly to 7,500. So here's what the rates look like. Now this is the current rate structure. And again, this is just water. So this is if you didn't do that additional tier yet. This is just you just maintain what you currently charge, and your current rates are right here. So this is what you pay today for a customer. As you mentioned, roughly 90% of your customers are probably 5/8-inch customers. These other ones are really larger commercial. Maybe a brand new home might get a 1-inch. It's a really big home, but the majority are going to stay here. So if you just did the 3% increases for water, it's kind of across the board for the most of these. Other than we reset this to be the 7,500s, you'll see that one actually went down a little, but everything else just be across the board increase. There's the 3 tiers. You also have irrigation rates. There's only 2 tiers for that, and then you have this hydrant rate. And when I say option 2 at the top, that's just referencing the 3%. So not the 2.1% plan, but 3%. And then here we've just highlighted kind of what typical residential customers would see. So there's a lot of numbers here, but the majority of your residential customers are going to see this rate, this fixed charge. This is before you use any water. That's just what you'd have to pay for, readiness to serve. And then depending on how much usage, different tiers. Again, most of the customers are staying in tier 1. A little larger users will go into tier 2 and then very little in tier 3. Now here's alternative rate structure where we added pretty much everything is the same other than we added this intermediate tier. But you can kind of see what the change is from current to the new ones. And so here you can see the rate of $1.94, what you pay now. That rate's going to stay relatively the same. So when you switch an alternative, it's not everybody sees the same rate increase. Now it's different customers will be affected differently. And we have some sample bills to help to show what that looks like. Because a lot of times you say, customers don't care what their rates are, they want what their bill is going to be, right? So I did catch one area here. This should be $3.89 because these both are $3.89. So it's not going from $7.78 down to $5.88. It's going from $3.89 to $2.94 and $3.89 to $5.88. So you can see most customers are, these customers are going to get a little break. Their rate's actually going to go down in tier 2. Tier 3 is going to go up a little. And then tier 4, again, those are our excessive users, not a lot of the customers in the system paying for, for the water that they're pulling from the system. Again, just highlighting what typical residential customers would see. So now we're moving on to sewer, and here there's
Before you go there, so with that extra tier in there from a overall, whether you want to call it cash perspective, whatever, and with the fact that you had the 22%, now you're doing 6 and 15 or however it broke, was there really much of it from a cash perspective? What did that?
So these are revenue neutral. So they're both bringing in 3% more revenue in total, but it's which rates do you get the 3% from?
But if I looked at 2027, both of those 2 charts, if you did the total, you're still going to be pretty close to the same.
Yeah. So ideally, you should run these through your billing system. Talk to billing, say we want to add this tier, and then run it through the customer and say, okay, does it bring us in roughly? We've set it in the model, so it is.
Okay.
So actually the rates are self-adjusting. So if one goes up, another one goes down, but in total they're bringing 3% more.
Okay.
Yeah. Sewer, there's no alternative, just the option 2, which again is the 6% increase. Again, you don't have tiers here. It's again fixed charges like you do for water. Here's the non-metered based on 7,500. This is the variable rate that all customers see. And then you do have a Navy sewer rate that they get a special rate on. So this should be roughly, 6% or so across the board. And again, just looking at, these are the ones you would focus on for typical residential. So as I mentioned before, getting to what an actual bill looks like. So those were the rate increases. This is what how a bill would be affected. And we've broken it down to 4 different users. All of these are 5/8-inch customers. A small user, this is like the 25th percentile, so a really small user. They only use 2,000 gallons per month. And we have a water bill, sewer bill, and a combined bill. Median user, the 50th percentile, so roughly half of your 5/8 customers use less than 3,500, half use more. This is kind of the bill we usually focus on, is that median customer. And you can see this customer doesn't even go past the first tier, right? Because that first tier goes to 5,000. A larger user, now they're starting to do some irrigation. They're just getting into the second tier. And then the largest we're showing, the 90th percentile, they're also still in that second tier. That goes to 10,000. So the current bill, this is what you pay today. Let's focus on this median customer. You pay just under $60. If we just did the 3% increase, you'd be about 62 something and change. We did the alternative structure, still bringing in total 3% revenue, but affecting customers differently. You see they actually pay about 14 cents less than if you just did the across the board. So instead of a $3.36 increase, it'd be $3.22 per month, not even a cup of coffee. And then a large user, you can see the increases here. So actually, you'll see the water bill for the large user, they're actually going to go down 26 cents. They make up for it on the sewer. But their bill is higher, but because the per unit per 1,000 gallons is a little less for those folks. Now, if we were to add, a customer using 15,000 or 20,000, there's not a lot of those customers, especially at 5/8, but they would see slightly higher increases because they're paying in that excessive usage tier. Now, you'll note at the bottom here, these bills don't include what you have. You have sewer system improvement charges to pay for debt and capital. All this is focusing on just operations. But I will introduce a slide here comparing you to surrounding utilities. And because these other utilities, they don't usually break out their operations rate between capital and debt. They just have one rate. So I reintroduced those system improvement charges here, just so it's on an apples to apples basis. So you won't necessarily be able to compare your bills here, the darker blue, darker green, to the last slide, because this is now adding in the capital. But blue is water, green is sewer, and then there's a total. This is quarterly, but this is a monthly bill. But so this is what your bill is right now. This is you right here, 2026. If you just did the 3% across the board, you'd go up to this one. If you did the alternative, you'd be this one. So this is again for that 3,500 gallon usage median customer. No, that's your current bill. So any questions on current rate design before we get into any miscellaneous revenues?
And did you look at Leonardtown? Was it?
We have them on there. I know we have them. We can give it to you if you want. Yeah. I was trying to just put counties in there, but then I did notice we threw Cambridge in, so.
Just always,
yeah.
It's always a good arm wrestling for us.
I know. Right or wrong, apples and oranges, something I always want to compare to certain ones. So. So these are 2027 considerations, and we're highlighting these are not revenue enhancements. This is not just to bring in more revenue. This is actually applying rates and charges to those customers who cause you to incur costs for these. So the first one is looking at a grinder pump maintenance fee. So you maintain about 1,800 grinder pumps, and I know sometimes they're a pain in the butt to maintain. And so we're looking at what costs do you incur for maintaining these grinder pumps? Because right now you don't charge for having a grinder pump. And so all the other customers who don't have them are really subsidizing those customers who do. So we looked at, okay, let's just identify the cost for grinder pumps. And we kind of looked at everything. You come out to a cost about just under $11 per month. Now we did have in green here, alternatively, you just want to look at, hey, what's the additional overtime that we're spending for these grinder pumps? You could probably cut this charge down to like $4 or something like that. So it's really, it's how much of the cost you really want to capture. If you want to capture everything, you're up to $10, $11, $12. If you really just want to capture that incremental overtime, it can be a little less. We also looked at the septic hauler processing fee. So a discussion with staff. This is what you charge now for 1,000 gallons. This is like high strength waste, like a septic hauler brings their waste to the treatment plant. The thought was you could essentially charge a minimum processing fee, because you have some loads that are coming in and it only generates like $1 to $2 for the load, but you still have administrative duties and other costs. So we're saying maybe there should be a minimum regardless of how much waste you bring in. But then to avoid or to mitigate illegal dumping or something like that, we could say, hey, anything up to like 50 gallons is free. We still want you to bring it to us. We don't want to discourage you. So those are some thoughts for that. And then for the future, so kind of beyond 2027, some of these would require some statutory authority. We talked about a capital contribution charge. So you already have a capital contribution charge. Some other places call this a system development charge. It's kind of the charge for new customers to connect to the system. It's a one-time fee. This is to, this is so existing customers don't have to pay for all that growth. We call it a growth pays for growth policy. But right now, I don't believe you had it set up so that if you don't get that growth that you're expecting, so if new customers don't come, yet you have these growth and debt charges to pay for, debt costs. You don't really have a mechanism right now that user rates could cover those. And most other places, in Maryland and other utilities, it's just kind of naturally built in. Hey, if we don't get the growth, we don't have the revenues to cover those costs. It's an assumption, but user rates are going to have to cover it, right? Someone's going to have to pay for it. But I think that would require something in the statutory authority to be changed just for that minor edit. Now, this other one is about a capacity allocation or reservation fee. So this is those folks who have purchased an EDU but have not connected to the system. So you had to allocate that capacity for them. You're holding onto that capacity. There's holding costs for that, but you're not collecting any revenue. So they can just sit on that EDU and, never activate it. So this is looking at, okay, well, maybe there should be an availability fee or a capacity holding cost for that. So there's just some math here of different calculations that you come up with for water and sewer on that.
If I could add, that's to capture the full cost, the percentage, for example, 2% of our total expenses in water. Water expenses are around 5.3 million, so capture 2% of that, which would be the ratio of connected and unconnected customers. On the sewer side, that's 3%, and our expenses are around 13 million. That may be a little bit onerous to add to people's monthly bills. So one of the thoughts that we could bring back is capturing a different percentage of the total. For example, if we capture just the power, the fuel, the chemical, supplies and materials, excluded personnel and overhead costs, we would look at something like $4.80 a month or $9 a month, somewhere in that neighborhood, a little bit more palatable, but does capture a good amount of the carrying costs that are essential. It just takes out the personnel side of it. And we could bring back something a little bit different for you to consider. It might be worth looking at a little bit more detail. But that's full recovery or unconnected to the full carrying cost, which I think was the question Commissioner Dugan, you've asked the last 2 years.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, the biggest, my big issue is that the fact that it's taking capacity that we can't use somewhere else and we can't do anything with, I actually agree with you in the sense that we're not really using it's not requiring any more labor, whatever, but it's not allowing us, we're starting to project costs for expanding some of our treatment plants or whatever. When in fact it's not being used completely because of the EDU sitting there.
So we'll bring back a different version. And also, now that there's an EDU transfer program in place with the county, maybe a little bit of encouragement to, if you're paying an additional fee. But just a thought.
And then lastly, this non-meter fee. So we talk about those customers who are unmetered. They pay for that 7,500 gallons per month. You've only got 286 water customers without a meter left. So I know you made an effort, I believe, in the past to try to connect as many customers as you could. So this is just kind of additional effort to try to get the remaining customers on the system. Talking with staff, it costs about $3,000 to connect a customer. I think you're suggesting, not charging them for that, connecting them, taking that on. But then if somebody decides not to connect, is there a reasonable monthly fee to charge them again for having that availability? If the main is running down the street and they're not connecting to it, then that helps their property values, that gives them access, and they're just not taking advantage of it. So I know I speak fast, and it's a lot of material to take on, but questions?
That was great. Good presentation. Sean, where do you all go from there with them in terms of when are you talking about putting the final dots on it there?
So we got next month, next month.
Good. Good, man. I know it's taking behind the scenes and we don't see all the great effort in there, really appreciate that.
They got like I said, they have a really dynamic spreadsheet, and as part of his introduction, he He's gonna share that with us so that we have the opportunity to make those changes on the fly, take advantage of all the work they put into it. The nice thing is it's not a proprietary model. Most of the time when you deal with consultants, you can't get to that data because they have the model. They're willing to share that model with us, so.
Again, the more what ifs we have, the better decision making we can make there, so.
And ideally, we'll train, 2 folks on staff, right? In case someone leaves or something like that. We might want somebody from operations, somebody from finance, because they have different reasons for working with the model, so.
Thank you very much.
I don't think they're having
Any other, y'all?
Oh, yeah, thank you. That's great. Very good.
Thank you.
All right.
Mhm. All right, Sean, you're up again.
Good afternoon again, Commissioners. What I come to present to you is the 2027 budget draft timeline. And it's been sent to you already before. We've already reached out to the county to make sure that we're in sync with them. It's a note at the very bottom, meetings with the planning commission and commission of St. Mary's County. They are subject to their approval.
Well, as we know in the past that always amazing that the whole year process is just so involved, and certainly appreciate the fact that it's all of a sudden and not just getting dumped in and everything, that it really gives everyone an opportunity to keep that up. That's impressive. So.
Anything in yellow you can put on your calendar, you're welcome to join us.
Sean, quick question for you. Are you comfortable with this schedule? I mean, you feel confident that this,
Yes, sir. Yes.
you got a lot of work in front of you.
So,
Anybody else have any other questions? All right, thank you. All right. Sean gets to be up again.
yes, sir.
Talk about real estate tax invoices.
Brings to you the real estate taxes invoices as every year. We have the 5 locations here. And the numbers here, the total number, $20,943.43 for those 5 locations.
Where was that in terms of our expectation?
It's a little higher than last year, 19,155.33. So it's about right on target. Okay. As expected, yes, sir. And I also included 2023 tax year just to show the increase there for last year too.
All right, once again, Sean's up again.
Sir. If the next one, the Mako OPEB Trust first and second quarter 2025 performance reviews. As we sent this over to you earlier, one thing that I do want to highlight, I attended a quarterly meeting. And for the second quarter, one thing that I am proud to say, the market value of the OPEB Trust, as of June 30th, totaled over $100 million. That's the first time that has happened, so really impressed with that. And this time we decided to combine this with more informational, before we were going every quarter. But this time it's decided to kind of going, it's okay, we just combine and give them the semi-annual.
So is that completely finalized then? Or when you met with them, was it finalized or is it
Yes,
still,
sir.
okay?
And they also had the auditors to do an audit, and we have sort of twin gill depth, as I like to say. The only issue that they found with this, which is the normal, since it's such a small board, the segregation of duties, but that's a normal thing since it's a small board.
Anybody got any questions? Pretty good.
All right. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
And as a segue between Ed and Sean, back to the real estate tax memorandum, 5 cell tower locations. Kudos to Kelly Jarbo. There's a 6th lease coming in. I just signed that on Friday. So there'll be another $31,000 a year coming into the Metropolitan Commission thanks to her work. And we'll put a 3% escalation clause in there as well. So
The other ones, how long are they kind of locked in for, you know?
they are in perpetuity and they have similar escalation clauses per year. The old ones were for a fixed time of option years and now they're in perpetuity.
It's great.
Thank you.
Pays to have a high tower sitting around somewhere, doesn't they?
Afternoon, Commissioners. Today I have for your consideration 3 items. One is an action item. The first 2 are a cross connection and backflow prevention update and the fire hydrant audit and inspection program. Those will actually be presented by Dwayne Cantrell. He is the water superintendent. So without further ado, Dwayne.
Afternoon, Commissioners.
Hello.
The cross connection and backflow prevention. These programs are designed to eliminate and reduce the possibility and threats of backflow contaminations to our public water systems. The cross connection program is a containment program. It addresses controls and prevention of the backflow in various water surfaces based on the risk imposed by the customer's plumbing system. As of June 30th, 2025, there are 794 commercial water accounts that are tracked by the program. Of these, 124 identified as high-risk accounts. High risk is defined as laboratories, medical facilities, car washes, automotive repairs, etc. There are currently 649 testable backflow prevention assemblies that require testing per program. HydroPort sends out the testing notifications to our customers and manages all the associated data as required to maintain the program compliance. 2017 on-site inspections have been completed between June 27th, 2011 and June 30th, 2025. There have been 231 program violations since June 27th, 2011, and the violations occurred at 219 facilities. And any questions?
That's many questions. We would certainly be willing to answer.
So in terms of the violations, where do y'all take that?
This program is actually run by a contractor. So the contractor actually runs the program as they go out and inspect the backflow prevention devices. Whether they're not inspected by an independent agency, that's one of the things that would encompasses a violation. So we'll send the violation notices out. So that's how they follow up on it. Typically, it takes like 1 or 2 notices up to the customer, and they usually get on the ball and they schedule inspections.
We reach out to the customers also to make sure that they did get the letter and all that, and make sure that they have to be in compliance.
But in terms of cross-checking that they're actually, coming off the list or whatever, do you track that separately or whatever?
HydroPort tracks that through
Okay.
the plumbers going out and do the inspections. They have to send all the paperwork back to HydroPort to let them know that it's been done.
And is it normally because they have to replace it, or is it normally something?
No, just that it's been inspected and that it's working properly. So
So a violation means there was a backflow or not necessarily?
it may not have been working or working properly, that they had to get it repaired or fixed.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, in terms of violations, is this number high to you? Is this about par? And how do we compare? And are there things that we can be doing to improve that?
I think it's probably a little bit below average, honestly. Some other municipalities actually have, WSSC has a whole department based on this. They also have a lot more commercial and high hazard accounts. So, I think the number of program violations we've had since the 12 years that we've had this in place, we're getting about 10 a year. With the growth, it's not excessive.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I think so. Okay, we will move on to the hydrant inspection.
The primary purpose of the fire hydrant is assisting with fire suppression. Although the local fire departments operate the hydrants, it is the county, the commission's responsibility to maintain them, ensure that they're working publicly or working properly. Currently, there are approximately 2,840 hydrants owned throughout the county that the commissioners oversee. Our goal is not to have any greater than 3% of the total inventory of the hydrants out of service at any time. I think we have 29 hydrants that are out of service at this time. That's 1.02% from last year, 4.7 that are currently out of service. The inspection program includes ensuring that each hydrant is free of obstructions and proper working order and is adequately painted. In fiscal year 2025, the contractor audited and tested 700 hydrants, flow tested 233 of them, and has painted 900 hydrants in the fiscal year. And in 2026, we're scheduled to continue painting. We've worked with the sheriff's department and have developed an informal partnership for approximately 80 deputies on patrol to randomly spot check contractors who are withdrawing the water from our hydrants. Make sure they have the proper meters that are issued by that company.
So some of the complaints that we get from our consumers is that they're in the neighborhood, they see a tanker pull up, they're drawing water off. And we don't have enough eyes to be on all these locations. So one thing that we did is we reached out to the sheriff's department, came up with a program, kind of explained to them what we're looking for, what they're supposed to have on site. I think Sheriff Hall and Captain Moses, yeah, I was thinking of his name. We're very receptive to it. This is indeed considered theft. And one of the concerns we have about an unauthorized person withdrawing water is ties back again to the cross-connection control program that we have. The meters that we issue do have cross-connection control built into them. So if, for example, you have a landscaping truck that has pesticides in its tank, and they're pulling directly off the meter, they don't have backflow prevention. It is possible for that by a reverse siphon to be drawn into the water system. So that's one of the things that we are trying to prevent. We're also trying to prevent that. We don't believe it's widespread, but it does and has occurred. And we only allow for these guys to withdraw from certain areas. That's one of the things we're also looking at is having, we do have dedicated hydrants, but they are all color coded, so they're all yellow right now. Right. So we're looking at possibly changing designated hydrants to like an electric blue or something.
The color of the tap.
So we got a lot of things going on in the hydrant on inspection program. Like I say, we're below the target goal of 3%. So I think we're doing pretty well. And that's a question.
So do we have a way to start looking from the electronic metering side to all of a sudden we see, obviously, they're filling a full tanker up or whatever that at this point, I understand that's great talking to the sheriffs and stuff, but maybe there's some other ones. Like, by the way, we're getting this extra flow that we don't normally have that I would hope that maybe can we dig into looking at some of our sensors to help ask the question that should we go look at this?
Some of the smaller systems, when we get a large draw, we can see the system pressure go down, right? For a system as large as Lexington Park, we wouldn't be able to see that. So it's kind of it's beyond our capability right now. I don't think there's any technology out there right now that allows us to put an electronic device and a hydrant.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking so much on the hydrant, but whether some of the flow meters that we're tying in with our SCADA system and stuff, whether there's a way for it then to put an alert notice out, you know. But anyway, just.
It's something that
Food for
certainly we
thought.
can look at, and then, you know, with the new, remote read meters that we're doing, you know, maybe the technology will be there, because we can start this from those as well.
And then, am I remembering right that when you talked about your your program for the maintenance of the hydrants and stuff, it's you're like looking at it like a 3-year window of cycling?
Yeah, actually, it'd probably be a 4-year window since we're getting more hydrants into the system.
So we do try to stay under that 5-year cycle. We've been hitting about 3 or 4 years. One of the things that does is kind of a side benefit. It actually reduces the fire insurance for the residents down here. There's a higher fire protection rating if we maintain the hydrants more often.
ISO rating.
ISO.
So when I see a pool truck pull up to a hydrant, he's filling, he has to have a meter between.
You should see a yellow meter.
It'd be yellow in that combination.
Yes.
Okay, and if you just see a hose, then you know there's stealing water.
Anybody hooked up to a meter, please call me or Mr. Cantrell here. We'll go out and have a talk with them.
I didn't know what the
That's how y'all got built or built these like bulk companies and for private contractors for taking the water out, because I know like the fire department, we just hook up to the meter because it's for a fire.
Right.
But, you know, I was asking, well, how do they control it for like these other people that get up, and I didn't notice it. Now I know that answer, so I
Yeah.
look for that little yellow.
The yellow meter.
And when we do find an infraction, we have a pretty stiff penalty, so that helps deter that.
We will have a much better set of penalties with the legislation that the county commissioners just endorsed on Tuesday. Right now, it's $100 fine.
Is that it?
It's not significant. That hasn't been changed since the 50s or 60s. Now we have a much more progressive and more consistent fine system that's significantly elevated and more consistent with Maryland Public Utility Law. So we're going to mirror their fine and penalty system.
It's a criminal.
I'm more looking from the discouragement side that yes, they might actually get a meter from you instead, you know.
Time in jail.
Yeah, if the penalty's high enough, yeah, you don't get a meter. But if you get a slap in the hand or you coming after them with a stick,
Right.
then, let's just keep stealing water for $100. Why
It's
not?
interesting you bring that up because when we talked to the sheriff, they had to determine what type of crime is it. Right, so we had to come up with an estimated cost. So your typical tanker truck, 6,000 gallons at $1.97 per 1,000 gallons. Misdemeanor at best. So we had to go through that process. So you see a $1,000 fine might get you to $100, just.
Yeah.
Slap my hand.
Pull my truck up. For $100. Okay, yellow meter.
Anybody else got any questions? I like the idea about changing the color for those meters, so
The draw.
obviously makes everyone's. The more eyes can look at it and know what it means, you know. Any other questions? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, next up is the military lane sewer relining project. For this project, their full present.
Evening.
Eric?
How are you?
How you guys doing?
Good.
So, we're looking to do a reline in the military lane, Greenview Knolls area. It's about 2,800 feet, almost 2,900 feet of 18-inch sewer line. It was found during inspections of the area that there's excessive damage from roots inside of the sewer main. It is also fed by our California Run sewer force main. So if blockage did occur in there because of these roots and all that, it would be rather bad. Because of the pump station, it's one of our largest pump stations that we have. So with the blockage and trying to get that, so it was also brought to our attention because of sinkholes around the sewer lines and manholes that was called in by the county, which brought our attention to it. So we're looking to utilize the Hartford County contract for Victory Trenchless. That is, the UV CIPP, cast in place, sewer line, rehab. We've used them in the past, but they were a subcontractor to AM Liner, who we've been using since 2013-ish. Somewhere in there, the last 4 or 5 years, they've been subcontractor to AM Liner. And now they have their own contract with Hartford County. So it was a significant cost savings for us to utilize them directly rather than as a subcontractor. So that was huge to us. We're asking for not to exceed of $450,000 for doing this project. We got an estimate of $344,000, but there's kind of some uncertainties in here because talking with them, some of the areas they may have to do point repairs before they can actually do the relining. So I know the contingency is higher than we would normally ask for, but rather than having to do a bunch of change orders and keep coming back, we thought that we would try and play it safe and ask for the money now. And if everything goes as planned, we would be able to continue going other places and relining.
So like Eric said, since about 2013, we've relined about almost 16 miles of pipe. For those new commissioners, I brought a display here. So what this is actually a sample of the relining product. So what happens is you have the original carrier pipe, which is in the ground. And this is usually cracked or somehow broken. What they will do is they will blow in basically a impregnated felt liner, which is uncured. So it's basically like a sock. Once they blow it through the line, they'll inflate it and they'll cure it, either UV cure in this method or heat or steam. So what you wind up is you wind up within a pipe and within a pipe. That's where the CIPP name comes from, cast in place pipe. So you basically have another hard pipe within the original pipe. That is just as structurally sound as the original pipe. So that's what we're doing in military lane. As far as the contingency that he's talked about, sometimes our eyes and the contractor's eyes are a little different. They may see a repair or a section of pipe that they can't reline through. So they'll require, be requesting a point repair. And what that is, they're gonna open cut, replace a bad section of line with something that's new that they can actually reline through. So that's what part of the contingency is for. So that's kind of a brief, in a nutshell, what relining is. And with that, any questions?
Does it start is it one continuous thing or do they do segments?
It is one continuous. So if you have, 600 feet between manholes, they will have a 600-foot sock, basically.
Okay.
Actually, it'll be a little bit longer than 600 feet because we'll have some hanging out of each manhole. Once it's cured, they'll go in there and they'll cut out the extra. They'll also cut out all the connections that are in that section of pipe.
So it goes from manhole to manhole.
Yes.
Yes, and actually, if the line is straight enough, they will go pass through the manhole and then they'll just reinstate the channel so that when we go back and do the manhole rehabilitations, they're just sealing to the cast in place pipe so that the contractor doing the manhole rehab doesn't have to rehab the benches or the channels inside the manholes.
And most times the reline pipe is actually stronger than the original pipe because there are no connections. It is one contiguous piece of pipe. So I mean, like I said, we've used it for a number of years. A lot of other municipalities throughout the US and over in Europe do use it. And it's pretty much the standard trenchless repairs that people are doing.
Imagine the cost difference between an open cut
All right.
and this.
You mentioned roots. Have any roots actually penetrated this pipe and would they have to be cleared out before you put the liner in?
So
How does that, where do the roots go?
We've already done that. Earlier this year, the sewer cleaning crew and the I&I crews went out and televised and inspected and root cut all the roots out of the line. So when the contractor does go out there to do the relining, they're gonna have to do very minimal cleanup and touch up for whatever roots, grew back through, or gravel debris, anything like that that are back in the channels. It would be very minimal.
All right.
Then what do you do when you're going from manhole to manhole? You just set up a temporary pumping station?
Yeah,
Is that what you're doing?
Victory Trenchless, the contractor, they're responsible for,
Part of their scope, not ours.
but they're only, depending on, they're only capable of up to so many gallons per minute flow, and that's within the contract. So sometimes we'll end up hiring a septic hauler to maintain in the meantime, or we'll supply them with one of our Godwins, which they can utilize to bump around with.
What do you have, like a week cure time or 3 days? What's the
Um,
time before you can start opening it up?
So usually they can do about 1,500 feet in about 5 to 6 hours. So
So it's same day.
yeah, same day. So
They open everything up.
yeah, everything will be open by the time they leave the site.
It is a very quick process. The nice thing about the UV cure, we have used the steam cure and the hot water bath before. With steam cure, there is a lot more odor because this is, there is more polyester resins and has like a PVC smell to it. With the UV cure here, the vapors are minimal. I think the UV light train.
Yes.
Goes along at a couple feet
Per second.
It's pretty quick. It's definitely the same day.
It's like an
And then do they run a recorded camera through it?
Yeah,
to
so
give you
part of the
asphalt?
contract is requirements for them to send us the footage, and all that's reviewed by our in-house staff as well, once they've reinstated everything.
And several years ago, we did have a contractor that used steam and there was an odor, and we started implementing our message boards and doing more PR up front, but with the UV. That precludes us from having to do that, although we still provide them notices that we're doing the whole area, but the smell.
Is drastically.
What's the life expectancy in this product? Any clue? I mean,
Um,
what's your life expectancy on this product?
The life expectancy of the PVC pipe when it's put in is usually about 20 or 30
Right,
years
right.
based on field conditions.
Right.
And we typically expect to get the same amount.
Okay.
All right, appreciate it. How about? Got a motion?
I'd like to make a motion here for the Military Lane Sewer Relining Project. Move that the commission accept and award the cured in place pipe CIPP sewer relining service project to Victory Trenchless LLC of Calvert County, Maryland, per all pricing terms and conditions of the Hartford County, Maryland ultraviolet cured in place pipe. Contract number 26-001 for a not to exceed amount of $450,000. Further move to authorize and direct staff to sign all documentation relating to this award, including but not limited to the issuance of an approved purchase order and all approved change orders.
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
All right.
Commissioners.
Thank you. Fix the pipe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Last but not least.
Never least.
Rick Harding, your Chief Information Technology Officer. I come for you today to give an annual report on the cybersecurity posture. Metcom cybersecurity posture remains strong. We have had no virus or malware infections, no successful cyber intrusion or breaches, only minor phishing attempts, and no detected ransomware or successful ransomware infections. Metcom continues to use the assessment services provided by the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. These services, the Cyber Hygiene Vulnerability Service and the Web Application Scanning Services, continue to give our IT staff timely alerts and recommendations for remediation for security vulnerabilities. Included in your materials is our latest cyber hygiene report card that shows there are no vulnerable hosts or risky services open to the public side of our network. In addition to these services, Metcom is a member of the Multi-State Information Sharing and Analysis Center, MSISAC for short. This membership affords Metcom valuable cybersecurity resources, including 24/7 threat intelligence, detection and response assistance, cybersecurity tools and resources, important advisories and notifications, weekly malicious domain and IP reports, and most important, the malicious domain blocking and reporting, which I have reported on that before. This service is a web security solution that provides an additional layer of cybersecurity protection by preventing our system from connecting to web domains. So basically, it just cuts it off at the head. If we can't get to it, they can't attack us. This, of course, limits our exposure to malware, ransomware, phishing, and other cyber threats. During my last report, I described the joint cyber threat hunting engagement that we participated in with CISA and the FBI. Using recommendations from this joint engagement, Metcom has employed multi-factor authentication for network access, installed a CISA-sponsored log management solution, and has made network configuration changes to increase segmentation between our IT and our OT networks. The OT network is SCADA. Employing these changes has allowed us to maintain a strong cybersecurity posture by securing network access, monitoring the network around the clock, and proactively identifying threats. The IT team is currently rolling out advanced services from our recently upgraded endpoint detection and response system. These new services include a browser phishing protection, a managed threat hunting, vulnerability assessment, app blocking, and patch management. Pretty sure you're all aware of your antivirus software on your computers. In addition to just picking up malware and antivirus, they're providing these other services at the workstation and server level. These new services allow us to protect our workstations and servers and our data stores from malware, ransomware, and any other threats. Included in your materials is a snapshot of our current EDR dashboard, and it shows us having a pretty good score of 96%. I believe we could bump that up by simply putting out more endpoints. They kind of ding us a little bit because we have 100 licenses and we're going to use the 90 of them. These new services
Sounds like the credit card.
yeah, a little bit like credit card, absolutely. So future cybersecurity initiative for the upcoming year will include the deployment of a security awareness training program. State, local, tribal, and territorial governments are seeing an uptick in the number and complexity of these phishing campaigns. And we believe that a security awareness training will help by educating our users, of course, and not just on how to recognize a phishing scam, but also to reduce that human error component that we see, clicking links that they're not supposed to, opening emails that they're not supposed to. And then, of course, that will increase our overall cybersecurity posture. We will continue to roll out the additional advanced features of the EDR system. We'll continue to upgrade the existing server hardware to support any latest operating systems, which ultimately are more secure. And lastly, we will explore the migrating platforms such as our CityWorks, our ArcGIS, anything that we have in-house to the cloud, which generally is more secure. With that, I'm up for any questions.
Just an observation on the email from, I work for an energy company and we are locked down. And it's because of the kinds of things that we're talking about here. One of the things that we've incorporated, internal email gets through just fine. A trusted external will go to an external file. And anybody else goes to a junk file, and it's incumbent upon the user then to sort of sort through to that. Do you have any level of sort of?
So we
A
haven't gotten
protocol?
to the point of actually blocking external email,
Right.
but we do have them labeled.
Okay,
And then the newest forms of Outlook come with a very
Right.
large label that says this is definitely external email.
Okay.
And aside from that, we have a multi-layer setup for security. So it starts at Office 365, that gets filtered. When it hits our firewalls, we have email protection there
Okay.
that will block it. And then finally, when it gets down to the desktop level, we have the CDR that will finally filter it out. With that said, we still get a handful.
well,
Typically, it's just spam,
right,
nothing malicious. But on a rare occasion, we do get that email that's just a phishing attempt, and I think the training will go a long way to bring our users up to date. They've done a great job. Our users will pick the phone up and call the least little bit suspicion that they have with an email. So I think they're doing good. The training is going to make them better.
So from updating equipment perspective, anything new and surprising there that you feel like we gotta go after?
Not really. We're keeping the server hardware up to date. We have migrated all of our older legacy machines that were running 2012. I believe I reported that the last time. We had 2 or 3 that were still there. We have since migrated them up to 2016 minimal. Most of our servers are at the 2019 level. And of course, they released 2022 and 2025 already. We actually do have some 2025 servers on the network. The big issue you may have heard recently is that they're dropping support for Windows 10. The last I had a report, we had 2 machines left that still have Windows 10 on them. And they will definitely be replaced before the October deadline.
And Rick and his IT team, you see at 96%, you didn't say it was exceptional. So we've got a guy that's exceptional and he wants to do better with his team. I don't know how much better he can get, but I can say multi-factor authentication didn't come necessarily smoothly. So he was smart enough to implement it to a small test group.
Yes.
So that we could be his advocates when he wasn't around.
And
So that worked out really well.
And I think user buy-in has been great. It is just second nature now. Just like when you log into your bank, you're gonna have to get a text message or you're gonna have to go to an authentication app and hit okay. So once they're okay with that, smooth sailing.
So I'll phrase it wrong, but the group that we're partnering with in terms of you'll kind of share a lot of stuff that you're running into from other like maybe possibly Calvert County and that kind of stuff like that is how valuable are you finding that in terms of information?
So with the multi-state information sharing
Right.
service that we have, that is
It's
great. It is absolutely great because I get daily reports. You get a piece of spam or phishing or something like that and you report it. I get a report saying, this is what it looks like. It doesn't do anything malicious, but don't click on the links. And it's up to date. I get them daily.
I think that's obviously the more information and the awareness piece is so.
My career has come full circle where it's like almost that's all I do now is just respond to those because there is so much information coming in to help protect because there is so much out there trying to attack us.
well, and then the last line of defense then is the employee, the person who's on the receiving end of it.
Absolutely.
And so
Absolutely.
to your credit, the more you can do on the training front, we did a company-wide exercise just recently and where we faltered people were multitasking. People were not paying attention, trying to, save time to do something, and it was the honest mistake. And so it's really trying to restructure how you think about your email as an example, right? Be cautious of those things that come from the outside. And everything you're talking about, what does the header say? Is it really Microsoft that's asking you for
Correct.
information, right?
And most of them are so obvious.
Right.
But they are getting.
They are.
And this new training software allows you to pick the levels.
Oh, good.
And our IT staff decided, well, we're gonna ramp it all up. So we cranked them all up to 10 and sent emails out. And we kept looking at them like, I probably would click on this.
Right.
It's like,
Right.
I can't tell this from a good email. Something's not.
Yeah. Very enticing sometimes, and it doesn't say at gmail.com, so you think it might be legitimate. What are you upgrading from 10? Where do they go to? Do they keep the same hardware and you just do operating system? What do you go to?
Good question. So we had a series of tablets that we had bought a few years back, and they fit the requirements to upgrade. So in that case, we simply upgrade to Windows 11 using a quick setup program. Other workstations, no. The Windows 11 requires an encryption chip to be on the motherboard. A lot of our older machines did not have the latest version of that, so they were unable to upgrade, if you will. In that case, we have to swap out the hardware. But we've kind of been doing a 3-year cycle with all of our hardware now. So it's most of those, it was time to upgrade anyway.
But 11 is the latest.
11 is the latest.
Any other questions?
So
Thank you.
keep up the great work. Keep up the great work.
job. So I need to upgrade my own speed. I don't have it.
Careful.
Hey,
That's fine.
they expect nothing less.
All right. Guess the next item is the future agenda items, the next meeting is October 23rd. I'm not sure why it says tentative, but
It's always tentative. If we don't have a quorum and we have to reschedule, so that's really why that. works
Okay.
in there.
all right, good. Commission members' time, I'm not sure that we. All right. Next is the executive session. So we need a motion to go into executive session for to discuss litigation.
I make a motion to go into executive session to discuss litigation.
Second,
I'll second
all in favor?
it. Aye.
Aye.
And it wasn't just one.
I just, I said, we could, because, yeah, help me out here.
Executive session, say that, and then
Okay.
first, we need a motion to,
All right.
authorize staff to discuss, authorize staff to proceed as discussed in executive session.
All right, we're back from executive session. Motion to authorize staff to proceed with as discussed in the executive session.
Second. We need a motion. Is that the motion?
There's a motion.
Is it okay if I say it?
Yeah.
John, second.
Well, I guess second motion.
He seconded.
No, now we gotta have a motion.
Call for the vote.
Oh, call the vote on this one.
Oh, vote on that. All in favor?
Have to do that first.
Oh, sorry about it.
All in favor for that first,
Yes,
right?
Yeah,
And then the second motion is to what?
You gotta call for the vote.
yeah, I'm sorry, I skipped that part, sorry about that. Right, for the motion for authorization for staff for what was discussed in executive session. Do I have
All in favor?
all in favor?
You're right. So,
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. I'll do it like that.
Okay, and then what was next here? We need a
Minutes. Motion.
another motion to approve of the minutes of the executive session on August 26, 2025.
Eight.
This 26.
28?
This 23. Okay. I'll second that.
For apology or the?
Well, that.
I was just reading that.
Yeah.
How about both? Okay, we have a second.
I wasn't here, so I have to abstain, but first, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Very good.
One abstain.
One abstain.
All right. We have a motion for adjournment.
I'll make that motion to adjourn the meeting for today.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you all.
Well, that was
Thank
easy.